Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the WrestleMania 38 Night 1 edition here. Obviously, WrestleMania being 38 years old, kind of interesting. I actually, with my help, don't know if I'll make it to 40, but kind of hoping I make it to 40. Kind of a neat little milestone to think that a wrestling super show could make it 4 decades would be kind of cool. Although, honestly, with the way their product keeps going, other than the fact they have bloated contracts, I don't know that their stuff is worth 2 more years of watching. Um, this is the better of the 2 nights of WrestleMania, and the obviously headlined by the KO show with Steve Austin, and um, kind of they do a pre-show that has very little value, um, just there to fill time. Main show, country music, rocker Brittany Gilbert performs national anthem. Opening video featuring Mark Wahlberg. SmackDown Tag Team Champions Usos defeat Shinsuke Nakamura and Rick Boogs. 6:52. Not a bad match, but obviously with Boogs getting injured, it's that's obviously not a good thing. Um, Obviously, the match is cut short for that reason. Boogs comes out and introduced Nakamura. They both get a huge pop from the fans. McCaffrey danced on the announce table because, well, he's a goof. And they recap Boogs defeating Jey Uso. Special ring introduction for this particular contest. Then Nakamura kicks Jimmy in the face at the bell, follows up with a running knee. Corner, Usos take over, isolate Nakamura on the side of the ring. Nakamura then tries to fight back, but Jay hits an enziguri to maintain control, slows the pace down. Chinlock, Boogs then tags in, goes and runs wild, catches Jay in a bear hug, transitions into a delayed vertical suplex for a near fall. Boogs then picks up both men, Usos on their shoulders, but knees give out. Nakamura then tags back in and hits a dive and off to the floor. Nakamura fights out, and Usos alone for the rest of the match because Boogs has a legit knee injury. Nakamura hits sliding German on Jay, sets up for the Kinshasa, but Jay hits a super kick. Jimmy follows up with a splash for near fall, getting a big reaction. Nakamura fights back. Jay grabs his hair, allowing Jimmy to hit a super kick. Usos hit the 1-0 for the win. After the match, doctors check on Boogs ringside. Later in the night, Cole notes that he would require surgery for his injury. Video package looking at Sami Zayn and Johnny Knoxville for the next day. Drew McIntyre defeats Happy Corbin with Madcap Moss at 8 minutes 38 seconds. McIntyre and Corbin have a decent enough match. Starts out slow, picks up. McIntyre is in control. Fans are into the match by the end, although do they really need to be here? And honestly, I'm not a Madcap Moss fan. Took him long enough to get here, and he's really nothing special. Recap of the feud between Corbin and McIntyre. McIntyre jumps Corbin at the bell, nails Corbin with hard chops in the corner. Corbin tries to fight back, but McIntyre sends him out to the floor and then hits a clothesline. McIntyre then drives Corbin back into the barricade. Corbin then recovers and sends McIntyre into the ring post. He then targets McIntyre's knee and talks trash, follows up with a back suplex, and Corbin is finally in control. Moss then jumped up at the apron to celebrate. Corbin then yells at Moss to jump off the apron. McIntyre then takes advantage and hits a spinebuster for near fall. He regains control and then hits a neckbreaker for another near fall. Corbin then blocks the Future Shock DDT, hits the deep six. McIntyre fights back and hits a clothesline off the top rope. Sets up the Claymore, and fans pop for that. They counter along with him. Moss then pulled by Corbin outside the ring. McIntyre hits a flip dive over the ropes. Fans pop for that. Corbin then avoids McIntyre, goes for the end of days. McIntyre slips out, and Corbin avoids the Claymore. End of days. and near fall. Fans thought that's the finish. They pop big. McIntyre kicks out, and Cole says that that's the only time that anyone's ever kicked out of Corbin's finish. Who really cares at this point? Um, McIntyre jumps up to his feet and hits a Claymore kick for the win. Fans pop, and then after the match, McIntyre celebrates with the sword. Moss then tries to get in the ring. McIntyre backs him off, cuts the top ropes with the sword, and then the ropes fall. Miz and Logan Paul defeat Rey and Dominic Mysterio. I guess there are people that like this stuff. I'm not. I mean, a guy that's a YouTube star being a pro wrestler at the level that this is actually makes the business look weak. Fine enough. Tag team match. Paul is a good heel though. Fans hate him with a passion. They end up cheering the Miz in the process. They recap the Mysterios versus Miz and Logan Paul feud. Paul comes to the ring wearing a rare Pokemon card around his neck. Heels gained early advantage. Paul then tags in. Fans are booing, backing Rey into the corner and hits rights and left. Paul avoids Rey with a couple leapfrogs and does the splits. Rey then takes advantage and kicks Paul in the head. Mysterios then take over with Dominic running wild. Hits a moonsault on the middle rope on the Miz for near fall. Follows up with an arm drag on Paul and hits the scissors kick on the Miz. Dominic then hits a twisting crossbody on the floor. Fans pop and Dominic gets a big reaction out of that. Paul then jumps Dominic from behind, takes over, hits a running power slam on Dominic for near fall. Paul and the Miz hit kicks on Dominic for lots of boos. Paul hits a blockbuster on Dominic for another near fall. Fans rallied behind Dominic. Heels isolate Dominic on their side of the ring, cutting him off from Rey. Dominic fights back with a tornado DDT on The Miz, and then kicks Paul in the face. Rey then manages a hot tag and catches Miz with a flying Rana. Follows up with a seated senton and kicks him in the face again for near fall. The heels then go for the double suplex, but Dominic catches Paul with a super kick and has Rey rolled up. Miz rolls him up for the near fall. Rey then goes for the 619. Miz fights back. Rey follows up with a tornado DDT for near fall, and then they do the Eddie chant. Miz escapes, sets Rey on the ring post. Paul is there, and fans are booing him. Paul then gives Rey three amigos to more boos, and they are filled with hatred for him. He does the Eddie Guerrero pose on the top rope. He hits a frog splash to even louder blues. Dominic makes the save, and the babyfaces run wild. Double 619 on Paul, but Miz makes the blind tag. Dominic then hits frog splash on Paul, and Rey hits a second frog splash. Miz jumps in, slams Dominic into Rey, hits a skull-crushing finale on Rey for the win. Fans erupted into boos at the finish. Miz and Paul celebrated after the match when the Miz turned to Paul and gave him the skull-crushing finale. Fans popped for the turn and cheered for the Miz. I don't know that that's the way they were supposed to go. Stephanie McMahon comes out to good action and thanks the fans. Introduces Gable Steveson for his trouble recapping Edge and the AJ Styles feud. Bianca Bel-Air defeats Becky Lynch to win the Raw Tag Team Championships the Raw Women's Championship 1907. Bel-Air and Lynch have a really good match, probably the best match on Mania of the entire 2 nights. They recap this. They do a special ring introduction for the match. Bel-Air gets a huge pop, and then Lynch gets a mixed reaction. Fans give the match a big reaction when the bell rings, and then Lynch goes for the manhandle slam from the beginning. Bel-Air is probably one of the more over talents they've ever, maybe not ever had. This is kind of one of those interesting, kind of what's there, and ultimately, coming in a basic deal there. Bel-Air then continues with a KOD. Lynch slips out from behind and hits the manhandle slam. Close near fall. Fans reacted for the near fall since it's SummerSlam finish. Lynch then goes for several near falls but couldn't put Bel-Air away. Bel-Air fights back with a suplex and then rolls through and then goes for the second suplex, but Lynch reverses and takes over. Lynch then misses a moonsault and Bel-Air locks on Lynch's disarmor. Lynch then fights back and gets the ropes. Bel-Air then tries to lift Lynch on her shoulders, but struggles to get her up, then changes course and trades near falls. Lynch then takes over and sends Bel-Air into the ring steps, and then is firmly in control and hits a series of suplexes. Lynch then drives Bel-Air throat first into the middle rope. Bel-Air then fights back and Lynch hits a super kick. Lynch follows up with a drop off the corner and Bel-Air is draped over the top rope during this. Lynch slows the pace of the match down, goes for the arm bar. Bel-Air picks up the fight. Lynch grabs the top rope and they both fall to the outside. Bel-Air then tries to get back into the ring. Lynch pulls out at ringside. Bel-Air then runs at Lynch. She attempted to give a backdrop, but Bel-Air bounces off the ropes into a suplex. Bel-Air then takes over and runs wild on Lynch. Avoids Lynch with a handspring backflip. Bel-Air then catches Lynch in a powerbomb. Lynch rolls her up for near fall. Bel-Air then recovers and hits a handspring standing moonsault for a close near fall. Bel-Air then climbs top rope, but Lynch cuts off. Bel-Air then lifted Lynch on her shoulders and then stops on the middle turnbuckle and then drops Lynch on the corner. Fans stand up and pop for the basic spot. Bel-Air hits a 450 splash for a close 2 count. Lynch fights back and hangs Bel-Air on the top rope. Lynch then goes for a flip senton, but does a flip drop kick and hits Bel-Air right on the face. Bel-Air then hits a spine buster and goes for the handspring moonsault again, but Lynch gets her feet up. Bel-Air then tries to roll up Lynch, but then reverses into a ring post. Bel-Air then recovers and goes for the KOD. Lynch then holds onto the top rope, so Bel-Air gives her the KOD for the floor instead. Lynch then recovers and sends Bel-Air into the ring post. By her hair, Lynch then gives her a manhandle slam on the ring steps. Lynch then almost wins by countout, but Bel-Air beat the count. Fans popped big for Bel-Air getting back in the ring. Fans broke into a loud "This is awesome" chant, and then Bel-Air barely gets to her feet. Lynch then goes for a manhandle slam off the middle rope, but Bel-Air avoided it with a backflip. Bel-Air then hits KOD for the win and a huge pop. This is the best match of Media Weekend. Then we go to Cody Rhodes defeating Seth Rollins 21-32. Does this really need to be that long? I don't really know. Rollins and Rhodes has a awesome match. Fans go crazy for everything. They recapped things and they go into the stadium. Cody has the music hit and fans break into chants for him. Rhodes then has an early advantage with the side headlock and into an arm drag. He does the Stardust pose to a big enough pop. Rollins then fights back, but Rhodes recovers. dropping down and catches Rollins with a right hand. Um, Fans break into a loud Cody chant, and then Rollins then goes for a pedigree, but then Rhodes escapes and attempts into a crossroads. They fight over suplex um, into the ring, and then falls off the ropes onto the floor. Commentators push Rhodes into a basically he knows his ring IQ quite well. Rhodes then slows the pace down and walked over Rollins' arm. Rhodes then goes for a flying crossbody. Rollins then hits a drop kick. Rhodes then takes the referee and tells the referee his ribs are injured. Rollins then takes advantage and works over Rhodes' ribs. Rollins then shouts at Rhodes, "Welcome to the big leagues." Rollins then slows the pace of the match down with a bear hug and goes after the ribs. Rhodes fights back with a power slam and a clothesline on the floor. Follows up with a dive, sending Rollins over the announce table. Moonsaults off the top rope for a close near fall. Back in the ring. Rhodes then jumps off the apron. Rollins catches him, gives him a powerbomb and into the barricade. Follows up with a super kick and a Falcon Arrow for a near fall. Rhodes then avoids the stomp, but goes for a crossroads. Rollins then escapes, but Rhodes hits a crossroads for a close near fall. Fans break into a Cody chant, and desperate Rhodes climbs to the top rope. Rollins cuts off and gives Rhodes a reverse superplex into a slam for another near fall. Rhodes then breaks into a "This is awesome" chant and a faint Cody chant. Rhodes then avoids the Phoenix Splash, but Rollins rolled through. Rollins then goes for a pedigree, but Rhodes escapes. Rhodes then sets up a pedigree, and fans pop. Instead, Rhodes hits a powerbomb and Cody Cutter for another 2 count. Rhodes then didn't know what to do next. Rollins takes advantage and hits a pedigree for another close near fall. They trade punches in the middle of the ring. Fans cheered, and Rhodes is obviously they cheer for Cody. They boo Roman, and that's the way it goes. Rollins then yells for his company, hits a forearm to the back of the head. Rhodes then recovers and hits 2 crossroads, and then goes for a third, but Rollins is let go. Rhodes then pays tribute to his father, does a flip-flop and fly, and then hits bionic elbow for a third crossroads for the win. Fans pop for the finish here, and that's that. And then ultimately they recap Hall of Fame ceremony, and I'm going to grab a basic run here as we get my phone. So then, ultimately, it's kind of there. There is a top rope, and then Rollins gives Rhodes a reverse superplex and another near fall, breaking up Phoenix Splash. Rollins then goes for the pedigree, but Rhodes escapes. Rollins then sends the pedigree and then pops up. Rhodes then hits powerbomb on Cody, Cutter for another very close near fall. Rhodes doesn't know what to do next. Rollins takes advantage, hits pedigree for another near fall. They trade shots in the middle of the ring. Rhodes then recovers and hits 2 crossroads, goes for the third, but Rollins lets go. Rhodes then pays tribute to his father, does a flip-flop and fly, hits a bionic elbow, and hits the third crossroads for the win, and the fans are happy with the finish. Then we go to the recap of the Hall of Fame ceremony, and they introduce the 2022 class. Undertaker gets a separate introduction, and obviously gets a huge reaction from the fans. They announce the attendance as 77,899. Then Charlotte defeats Ronda Rousey to retain the title. Flair and Rousey have a decent match. Finish felt a bit weak, and then they recapped things there. Rousey has an early advantage and hits a bunch of shots in the corner. Robinson gets in between them. Flair takes advantage and hits a forearm. Rousey then fights back and goes for the armbar. Flair breaks free. Flair then takes over and sends Rousey into the ring post. Flair goes firmly in control, slows the pace down, and then hits a face lock. Rousey then fights back, but Flair hits a bunch of clotheslines into a dragon sleeper. Rousey breaks and hits a knee for a near fall. Flair then turns into a jump. Rousey's knee, but then moves and hits a version of a tornado DDT. Rousey then rocks Flair with a kick and to the head and throws her around. Flair then recovers and hits a spear into a near fall. Crowd is dead at this point, and the crowd finally comes alive. Flair then goes for a moonsault, but Rousey moves. Flair lands on her feet and hits a standing moonsault, but then basically it's mistimed. Rousey then fights back. Flair regains control. Flair hangs up. Rousey in the corner, locks on the Boston Crab on the ropes. Rousey hits a Piper's Pit and sets up an armbar. Rousey takes time and allows Flair to recover. Flair nails Rousey with a boot to the face and then goes for the figure four. Rousey escapes and hits Power Slam for near fall. Rousey then goes for the Piper's Pit again. Flair escapes and then hits turnbuckle, but Flair fights back with a powerbomb. Rousey then hits an armbar and Flair counters into the figure four. Rousey then reverses into an ankle lock, but Flair breaks free. Submissions, and Flair goes for the figure eight. Rousey reverses and rolls out. Cole notes nobody's ever broken free of the figure eight before. They then fight outside the ring. Rousey then pulls Flair off the apron. Rousey recovers and catches Ronda with a suplex into the barricade, beats her for 10 count. Flair goes for a boot, and Rousey grabs her leg. Rousey then hits Piper's Pit, and Robinson counts three, but Flair gets a foot on the bottom rope. Robinson then waves it off, but Rousey then thought she won. Flair took advantage and hit natural selection for near fall. Flair then goes for the figure four, but Rousey kicks off and Flair's speed. Ronda Rousey catches Flair with an armbar, but then she taps Robinson while she's still down. Rousey then tries to revive the referee. Flair then takes advantage and kicks Rousey in the face for the win. Newsdays, Sheamus and Holland just bumped to the second night show as we cover in the second night show, and then we go to the KO show deal here. They recap what led us here. Owens makes his entrance. Fans break into an Austin chant. He points and said some bad things about Austin and Texas. Fans break into a what chant, and Owens promises to give Austin a stunner and pour beer on him. Suddenly, glass breaks and he starts walking to the ring, stops and walks back. Owens laughed and assumed Austin had left. Austin then returns on his ATV and drives down to the ring. He jumps into the ring, kicks KO show sign and posts in the corners. Owens then demolishes Austin, and so they demand to sit down so he can talk. Owens doesn't want to fight Austin, mocks Owens, and the haircut as fans break into the what chant, which works with Austin. Owens then mocks Texas and said that it's not as good as Canada. Owens then claims that he'd rather live in Mexico than Texas. Owens admitted that he tricked Austin into a show. He's then not looking to talk. He's looking for a fight. Owens then notes that he brought Austin on the show to challenge him in the match. The fans then pop up. Owens then challenged Austin for a no holds barred match right now. Owens then claims that Austin knows that he can't beat him. He took Austin, told him to leave. Fans break into a one more match chant. Austin noted that he had his first match in Dallas, Texas. He added that he could have his last match in Dallas tonight. Asked the fans if they want him to have a match tonight, and they obviously responded affirmatively. Fans responded with a loud hell yeah, and the fans are happy with that. No holds barred match. Steve Austin defeats Kevin Owens. Austin and Owens have a amazing brawl and awesome heat. Not a good technical match, but doesn't need to be. They trade right hands. Austin gets the upper hand, backs Owens into the corner, and stomps a mud hole in him. Austin then throws Owens into the corner and continues to stomp Owens. He then grabs a beer mid-match and to a huge pop. Fans break into a brief "You still got it" chant. Owens then sets up the table again. On the barricade on the outside of the ring, Austin reverses and sends Owens into the table. They fight through the crowd. Austin goes for a suplex. Owens reverses it. Austin tries fighting back. Owens gets the upper hand one more time. Austin then recovers and slams Owens into the announcer's desk, pulling out more beer to a huge pop. Austin then continues to beat down Owens with 10 right hands, and then grabs another beer and throws Owens back into the ring. Owens then hung Austin on the top rope and tries to leave on Austin's ATV. Austin stops Owens and jumped on the ATV, drives both up the ramp and on the stage. Austin then gives Owens a suplex on the stage and sends him headfirst into the ATV. Gives him a second suplex on the stage. Then Austin throws Owens down on the ramp and rolls him back to ringside. Austin grabs more beers and gets back in the ring. Owens takes advantage as we get an Austin chant. Owens then grabs a chair and goes on to hit Austin, but he moves. The chair hits the ropes and bounced back. Owens into the face. Austin then hit Stunner for the win and a massive pop. After the match, Austin then gives Owens another Stunner and celebrates his win. He called Byron Saxton into the ring, gives Saxton a beer and then a Stunner, and Austin celebrates with more beers. And that closes night one of WrestleMania 38. We'll be back with more right after this.